Let me start with this. If you ever want to see a grown adult lose their last shred of faith in humanity, just hand them a $70 fine for a plastic chair. No, really. I got home one day and there it was, slapped right on my front door in this radioactive orange envelope practically glowing against the chipped paint. It looked like a prank, until I caught a glimpse of Karen's handwriting, absolutely perfect, like she practiced calligraphy at villain school or something. That's when it hit me. This was real. This was my life now. And what was my crime? I'd left a single lonely folding chair on my postage stamp porch, my sacred spot for sipping coffee before another slog at work. No wild parties, no beer cans, no trash, just a cheap chair that cost less than the fine itself. I stood there staring at it like maybe it'd confess, maybe it'd tell me what the hell it did wrong. Within an hour, our neighborhood group chat was a nuclear meltdown, ding, 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 everyone piling in. Anyone else get a $70 fine, someone asked. Got dinged for a bench my grandma gave me, said another. By dinner, it was clear if you so much as dared to own a chair, a bench, or a bistro set, you'd been targeted. All the notices signed by Karen, our illustrious HOA president, corner lot yard like a golf course, eyes like a tax auditor. At the next HOA meeting, you could practically feel the tension sticking to your skin. We all sat in the very folding chairs Karen had banned. How's that for irony, while she stood up front in her blazer holding this thick binder like she was about to read us our last rites. These fines are final, she intoned, dead serious. Outdoor furniture visible from the street is now prohibited. It lowers property values. Property values. Like my $15 Walmart special was single-handedly tanking the real estate market. I tried to push back, raise my hand, heart pounding in my throat. When exactly did we vote on this? I asked. She just smiled, all teeth. The board approved it. And when did you let us know? It was in the newsletter, she snapped like I was the idiot. Sure, the newsletter, one-page font size 6 stuffed in with pizza coupons. Who actually reads those? A few brave souls tried to appeal. One sweet old lady, Mrs. Riley, got choked up talking about her grandma's bench. Karen cut her down so fast you'd think she was getting paid by the word. Some guy across the aisle muttered he couldn't afford another fine. Karen fixed him with a look and said, "Maybe this neighborhood isn't for you." I'll never forget that, like we were all just background noise in her little fiefdom. The rest of the board nodding along like bobbleheads at a car dealership. We shuffled out beaten. People whispered in the parking lot, "She'll put a lien on our houses if we don't pay." My husband just shook his head. "Pay it," he said. "She fined us for trash cans last year. You want to poke that bear?" But I was beyond reason at that point. I was furious, chest-burning hands, shaking, can't sleep mad. Because I knew in my bones the problem wasn't the chair, it was Karen. So that night I did something I swore I'd never do. I dug out the HOA handbook. You know, the 150 pages of lawyer speak nobody reads unless their house is literally on fire. I sat out on my illegal chair with a flashlight flipping pages until my eyes burned. And after hours of mind-numbing rules, I started to spot a few things, tiny, beautiful loopholes. First, they had to send a written warning before any fine. Second, anything over $25 needed a hearing so you could defend yourself. Third, new rules needed a real vote and 30 days notice. None of which had happened, not a single one. Karen and her minions just went full-on dictator. But then I saw something else. There was a whole section about unapproved modifications. No running businesses from home, no unapproved sheds, strict parking rules. And suddenly, it clicked. Karen ran a dog grooming business out of her garage. Karen had a shed the size of a small barn that wasn't on any plans. Karen's boyfriend's boat had basically become a permanent street monument. The woman wasn't just breaking the rules, she was inventing new ways to trample them. The next morning I went door to door like some rogue Girl Scout. "I'm not paying this," I told everyone. And honestly, I don't think any of us have to. Showed them the rules all highlighted and ready. You could see the light bulbs going off, rage relief, maybe a little hope. We spun up a separate group chat just for the rebels. Neighbors started swapping photos, Karen's boat, her shed, screenshots of ignored emails. Turns out one guy's cousin was a paralegal. She looked at our case and just whistled. "Oh, this is bad for them." So we had a plan. Step 1, nobody in our group pays the fine. Step 2, everyone sends a formal request for a hearing just to gum up the works. Step 3, File complaints with the city and the state HOA office about Karen's dog salon, the illegal shed, the whole circus. Karen ignored the letters. The HOA sent out nastier ones, each more dramatic, final notice before legal action, like they were auditioning for Law and Order lawn chair division. I was honestly thrilled, because the next letter A, court summons, they were suing me over unpaid assessments and fines. When the day finally came, the courtroom was packed. Half the neighborhood squeezed into the back rows, all pretending to check their phones but really listening for blood. Karen strutted in First Navy blazer, that infamous binder of shame. The HOA lawyer looked half asleep. When my name was called, I stood up, heart-slamming folder in hand. The lawyer droned on about community standards and property values, painting us all as one folding chair away from anarchy. Karen nodded along like she was being filmed for a documentary about tragic suburban martyrs. Then the judge turned to me. "Your response?" he asked. I took a deep breath. "Yes, Your Honor." 3 points. My voice only shook a little. 1, I never received a warning letter. 2, I never had a hearing. 3, the rule was never properly adopted by community vote. I slid over a copy of the HOA's own rules, all the good bits highlighted in radioactive yellow. Then I handed over our unanswered letters. The judge frowned, turned to the HOA's lawyer. "Is this true?" he asked. The lawyer looked at Karen. Karen's eyes darted. She tried the newsletter excuse. "Do you have proof each homeowner received it?" The judge pressed. Silence. You could practically hear her blazer starch rustling. And then my trump card. "Also, Your Honor, we have evidence the HOA president is running an unapproved business from her garage, has unapproved structures and parking violations, all while fining us for much less." I handed over the photos, the dog grooming sign, the shed, the world-famous boat. Someone in the back actually snorted. The judge definitely heard. He fixed Karen with this look, long, sharp, flat as a highway in Texas. "So you're enforcing rules you don't follow yourself?" he asked. Karen sputtered, tried to argue it was unrelated. "Oh, I think it is," the judge cut in. You could feel the room change, my neighbors, grinning, phones ready, the whole place on edge. Here's where it all flipped. The judge ruled every fine was invalid, no warnings, no hearings, no real vote. The HOA had to cancel all the chair fines, wipe out threats of liens, not just for me, but for everyone. Then he hit them again. They had to pay my court costs and strongly suggested the board review its leadership. Judge speak, "Forget your act together." When I walked out into the hall, it felt like the Super Bowl neighbors clapping, high-fiving. Someone actually yelled justice for the lawn chairs. That night, our Facebook group was on fire. Memes of folding chairs and little crowns, court order screenshots, photoshops of Karen's shed with the words, "What rule?" spray painted across. By the end of the week, we all got official letters, fines, rescinded, formal apology signed by the new interim president. Karen had stepped down, her business shut by the city until she could get permits. The illegal shed under review. The boat vanished overnight and, well, a for sale sign popped up in her yard not long after. For us, victory laps. People dragged out every piece of patio furniture they owned, benches, porch swings, neon Adirondacks. Someone even set up an inflatable couch for a weekend just to make a point. Now on Friday nights, we all sit outside, waving, swapping stories, laughing about the day a handful of lawn chairs brought down the HOA president. And here's the kicker. If you stick around long enough, you learn something about power, about the rules. Sometimes the people writing the tickets are breaking even bigger ones behind the scenes. And sometimes all it takes is a bunch of ticked-off neighbors who finally read the fine print to turn the whole game upside down. So yeah, justice served with a side of sweet, sweet karma. But let me ask you this. When does enforcing the rules turn into abusing power? And what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Ever fought the system and won or lost? I'd love to hear your take. Drop your story, your rant, your own taste of justice or injustice down below. Because in this neighborhood, we've learned the hard way. Sometimes the smallest rebellion starts with a $15 chair.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.